Welcome one and welcome all to the greatest show of them all. It is the NFC East Mixtape Volume 183, the first one of the 2026 NFL offseason. This show is available on YouTube exclusively, not out of our choices. We're still fighting that fight. It has been almost 2 full years at this point, but somehow we still have to deliver that message. You can watch it on the Bleeding Green Nation YouTube channel if you're an Eagles fan, the Blogging the Boys YouTube channel if you're a Cowboys fan. Make sure to check out bleedinggreennation.com, bloggingtheboys.com for your needs for either team. He is Brandon Lee Gowton from BGN. I am RJ Ochoa from BTB. BLG, happy New Year. This is the first, no, it's not the first, second episode of the new year to us, but first on a Tuesday at the very least.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the off season for everyone. There are teams still playing. Obviously, you wouldn't really be part of that at the Dallas Cowboys, but the Philadelphia Eagles are playing a playoff game this week. And then we actually have a lot to talk to. Talk. Well, that's a kind of a little spoiler, a little Freudian slip right there. Talk to. We have a lot to talk about, given the news that's going on with these teams, even though 3 of the 4 are not in the playoffs.
It is a busy time because obviously you do have the Philadelphia Eagles who are hosting a game, and we'll get to the matter in which they're hosting it with regards to the team they're hosting and the team they could have been hosting, something that you forecasted here not a full week ago, but the last time we spoke. I know, and we talked about this in Slack a little while ago, we obviously normally go in divisional standing, but because we do have a guest, Rob Stats Guerrera is going to join us to talk this Eagles 49ers game. That's going to be on the back half of the show. So fully acknowledged, Eagles won the division. That's the most important thing. They have a playoff game going on, but we have several things to hit with regards to the other 3 teams in the division. If you're okay with that as our resident Eagles person.
Well, I'll say real quick on a Week 18 wrap up from the Eagles' perspective. I wanted them to play the starters. That was not a hindsight take. I said that at the time. I actually said it like on Sunday night after they beat the Bills, and they should try to get the 2 seed. They obviously didn't do that in terms of that they played their backups. They actually got the help they needed from the Lions beating the Bears, even though the Lions didn't have much to play for. And I think the Eagles could regret that. But regardless, they didn't. So here we are. They're the 3 seed. They're hosting the 49ers this weekend. That's my real quick thing on the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's fair to be upset about the fact that the Eagles could have been the 2 seed if you're an Eagles fan. My friend Jimmy, who I reference a lot here, maybe we got to get Jimmy on at some point. I think that would be an interesting thing. He was of the mindset, he directly opposed you. And I said, look, I'm going to trust Brandon. I was like, no offense, but, and Jimmy's a Texans fan for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to trust Brandon. I said, I think they have every right. And I even tweeted, because I think this is what is part of the magic of the mixtape. My Eagles opinions are largely based on your perspective, and I think that streak goes both ways. And so I tweeted as soon as that game ended, I said, Nick Sirianni is the king of conservative. Like, Nick Sirianni was so afraid of everything. And I had, because, we have some Eagles and Cowboys fans that follow each of us. I had a lot of Eagles fans in my mentions, first of all, that were like, oh, worry about Cancun or whatever. And it was like, okay, you're missing the point here. But there were people who defended him. And I think that there is a point of defense with regards to, balancing it. But I don't think it's unfair to call him conservative at this point in time, given everything.
Yeah, I think there's some cope in there just because it's what happened. So people are like, it's the right decision. It's what happened. Going into the week, the polling, including the one when we did on Bleeding Green Nation, was more about like kind of like 55 or like 60-40 in terms of in favor of playing the starters in that game. So, look, there's a scenario where they play the starters, they get hurt. It's like a disaster. I know that. I recognize that. But I think the upside would have been worth it. So there's a scenario where that doesn't happen. There's also a scenario where if you put the starters in to begin the game, you can have them maybe build up a big lead, and then you can pull them out depending on what's going on in that other game, or keep them in. But obviously, you can't do what some people were like, oh, they should have put the starters in late in the game. That's not like a majority take, but I've seen some of that. You can't do that at that point because like you're not putting in the starters who like been on the bench and haven't warmed up cold like into the game late in the game. Like you're just not going to do that. So I think they handled it wrong, and that's my problem with it. Really, it's the more bigger picture point of Sirianni, like not making it harder for the Eagles than it has to be, not maximizing what he can. That's what frustrates me about the whole situation.
Yeah, I think that, and look, we have other things to get to, and I think that we're just going to talk in circles here. Like, if you're someone who disagrees with this, you're not going to be moved or budged from your position.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see if they look real well rested against the 49ers, then, hey, I'll say, like maybe I wasn't valuing rest enough. But if they come out and they also just like they get destroyed or something,
That
then that's a really tough look.
that's that's when I was debating with my friend Jimmy, I thought, because he said, oh well, he offered all those hypotheticals. And I said, yeah, I mean, that's why, like, I'm not saying you play the starters all the way through. You scoreboard watch.
Right.
You play them, you build a lead, and in this specific case, you would have been scoreboard watching through the entire game and whatnot. But I think you'd feel a whole heck of a lot better playing the Packers than you would playing the 49ers, which is obviously what was at stake. But okay, we'll get to the Eagles in a little bit here. There are coaching things or staff things relative to each team that we have to discuss. In this case, if you're okay, we will go in divisional order. The Dallas Cowboys on Tuesday morning fired Matt Eberflus, their defensive coordinator. This had to happen. I suppose they deserve some like bare bones benefit or kudos for doing it normally and at a normal time instead of dragging it out. There were reports that they were going to wait 10 to 12 days to do this. So at the very least, they did not do that. Obviously, we all know what they did with Mike McCarthy a year ago. Look, I wish Matt Eberflus well. I think he was handed a very poor situation, obviously, in the aftermath of the Micah Parsons trade. So on a human level, I really feel for him. And I think even in a football way, I am able to contextualize and understand that it was always going to be difficult to come back from that, given that he was traded 7 days before the season began. But I also agree with everyone that he did not adjust. He did not change anything. He was very stubborn in wanting to do things his way, despite the results overwhelmingly proving that they did not, work. And so you had to move on. I think it is sad that the Joneses touted him as this family friend and then hung him out to dry and made him the fall guy, because he is the fall guy now for the 2025 season. I think he was obviously far from the only thing wrong with the team. But the Cowboys will now be looking for their fourth defensive coordinator in as many years. And the reason for that, in case anyone just kind of glosses over it, Dan Quinn left after 2023. And then the Cowboys very foolishly went at the lame duck year with Mike McCarthy in 2024, hired Mike Zimmer to be a part of that. This was Matt Eberflus, and we'll see who number 4 is.
Yeah, I mean, when the defense is that bad, like historically awful, it can't just be like, oh, the coach had a bad situation, let's give him a pass. Obviously, it's like that. At that point, you are throwing out the baby with the bathwater, so to speak, because everything's bad. Just start over. You don't need to hang on to that. As the Cowboys spin it forward here and look for a defensive coordinator candidates to go through, I was looking at the list on bloggingtheboys.com, saw a bunch of Eagles connections there, a couple current Eagles assistants on there, Christian Parker, Clint Hurt, in addition to some former Eagles assistants, including Jim Schwartz. I would be very not happy if the Cowboys hired Jim Schwartz. I have a soft spot for Jim Schwartz. I think he's a really good, one of the best defensive coordinators in the league. So really curious to see what they do there. I hope they hire Jonathan Gannon. That'd be awesome to me. I would love them to do that, or the Commanders, or the Giants. Any NFC East team hiring the now fired Jonathan again would be great to me. I do think, like, obviously this goes without saying, maybe the only Cowboys move on defense. Like, it can't be, oh, we fired the defensive coordinator, defense fixed. Like, if this is a sign, and I don't think it necessarily is just based on this from what we see, but if this is just like third one move and they don't spend in free agency and everything again, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, that's why I like to say that, and I wouldn't even put it just on the staff. I mean, I know that I tend to like sweep everything under the front office rug. The front office sucks and everything is terrible that they do. And I think if I have to pick a primary culprit, more often than not, it is them. But I think that Matt Eberflus failed. I think the entire defensive coaching staff failed. I think that the Cowboys players failed. And I think that there's been an erosion and an attrition that has happened over the course of the last few years now. That 2023 team that Dan Quinn was the defensive coordinator for, that defense withered down the stretch. That defense got run over by Buffalo and Miami. And obviously we all know what happened in the wild card round. And then they just went at everything in a chaotic and tumultuous way in 2024, including the defense. But the defense was bad in 2024. And I think something that is lost in the sauce of it all, because the Cowboys like it that way, is that obviously Matt Eberflus was bad and obviously Micah Parsons was traded, but DeMarcus Lawrence left in free agency. He's had a wonderful year for the Seattle Seahawks. And I think it goes without saying that there's no way they let him walk in free agency if they know they're going to trade Micah. And so they just let everything break and didn't have any kind of reservations or backup plans for it. And this is the cost of doing business that way. They need a hard reset. They need a hard overall refreshing from a staff perspective, and even from a player standpoint. They have Quinton Williams, and I feel tremendous about him. But outside of him, there's not a single player on the defense who, if you wanted to trade for him, I would, be like, absolutely not. Quinton's the only one.
Yeah. I don't think there's anyone that's really scaring me. I mean, Osa's a nice player, but like, okay.
Osa's a nice player, and they gave him a new deal last year, and that was nice. But I mean, you've got to do more. You've got to do more.
It's not a needle mover.
Yeah, and we'll see. Like, I believe me, I am not somebody who's like, oh, it feels different. They're going to be different this offseason. Maybe they will. I would love to be wrong. I would love.
You just have to see it. You literally have to see it.
That's exactly what it's about. So, this is the right move, and they did it in the right way, and the kind way. Obviously, I said this last year, and I said it with Jason Garrett. What now? 6 years ago, it was even if you don't agree with me that it was incorrect, it was unkind to do what they did to Mike McCarthy and let everyone just dunk on him for a week. And the same with Jason Garrett before him. So you're swift, you're quick, you're decisive. Matt Eberflus can move on with his life, like I said, best to him, and you can move on. My number one candidate right now, since you didn't ask, if no. I'm open. I'm not closed-minded in terms of it has to be this guy. My number one candidate. Well, my number one candidate is Brian Flores. That's who I want. Yeah. That's who I want the most. It feels the most impractical, though, which is why it's hard to like really, really say that's my number one, because it doesn't feel like it can really happen. So there's like a natural limit or ceiling on that. I really am interested in the Atlanta staff at large, and that obviously includes Raheem Morris, but I don't think that he's going to be a defensive coordinator at this point. I don't have as much interest in Jonathan Gannon as anybody else, and it has nothing to do with the Eagles of it all. I will say I do not want them to go the Joe Witt route. Joe Witt was recently dismissed as the Washington defensive coordinator. That would be really frustrating. And it has nothing to do with Joe Witt, but it would just be going back to someone More than anything, I want it to be someone that has no affiliation, no past, no connection to the Joneses, to the Cowboys, bring in fresh, new, just brand spanking new blood, and let that person do what they want. That's what I care most about. I would just love it if it was Brian Flores.
Yeah, I think it should be someone established. I don't think you're looking for like the next up and coming defensive coordinator in the Cowboys position. Like they need someone who like has credibility and something you can point to and be like, again, that's why I think Jim Schwartz, as much as I don't want that to happen, would be a logical fit of like, here's a guy with a track record. At the very least, we're going to get a solid defense, and that's really all you need. Like it's at least all the 2025 Cowboys needed was more of a solid defense. So I would go that route.
The last thing I'm going to say on this, because we have to get to some Commanders and Giants things, and then Stats is going to be here shortly, is I've seen a take from some Cowboys fans that's, oh, man, well, what if we go get one of these guys, like pick who you want, Brian Flores, Jonathan Gannon, whatever, Jim Schwartz, and then they are awesome, and they're a head coach next year, and then we have to find a fifth defensive coordinator as many years.
Great.
Okay, yeah. So what? Like that would mean that very good things happened. I'm more than happy to deal with that problem in the future.
You should hire like a worse candidate just so they can stick around. Like it doesn't make any sense.
I understand the principle and I agree with it on a certain level, right? Like in a perfect world, you'd have a staff that just stays together forever. But I am super duper okay if they hire somebody who is badass and gets hired away next year as a head coach. Yeah. Plus, you could potentially yield a compensatory pick, like if we're adding potential pros associated with it. So that's my take. Okay, so let's get to the Commanders. Dan Quinn's not going anywhere. We knew that, obviously, but there will be brand new coordinators across the board. I actually shouldn't say that. There's not a new special teams coordinator, but it was announced right before we started recording and streaming. Convenient. So shout out to the Commanders. That interestingly, the wording with Cliff Kingsbury was that he and the Commanders are mutually parting ways, but then that they are moving on from Joe Witt. So they will need a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator. It remains to be seen whether or not Dan Quinn will call plays, obviously, on the defensive side of the ball, regardless who takes that job.
Yeah, I saw Quinn talked about not ruling out that he could do that in 2026. So we'll see how that goes. But the Kingsbury thing kind of like came up quickly here, I guess, from a standpoint of there was some talk, I believe, from the Athletics, Diana Rossini over the weekend that there was kind of like, Kingsbury not necessarily like on. There's a disconnect, I think was the term that was used between Kingsbury and Adam Peters, which is kind of a funny one. Like the offensive coordinator and the GM, like not the offensive coordinator and the head coach, like that's more common. But the GM, that's a weird one to me. Kingsbury obviously did a really good job, I thought, in 2024. I don't know how much we can parse through that. Like it's just Jaden Daniels being awesome. I don't think he did amazing in 2025, but Marcus Mariota had some level of success. So there's that. I think as someone who's lived through the Eagles replacing two coordinators in one offseason, it's not ideal, especially when you're trying to win still. Obviously, when you're hiring a new coaching staff and you have to do that and you're building it up, sure, that can take time and develop into something good. But when you're trying to do it on the fly, which I think, again, the pressure is still on the Commanders to like win now, especially where Dan Quinn is at after a season like this one. It's weird to me, and I'm very curious to see what they do with both of those positions.
Yeah, I mean, it does feel a little bit lame ducky. Like it does feel like Dan Quinn could be out after this year. Like you kind of have to get these right, and so I do think that that would naturally limit who you're going to be able to get, right? Like who wants to jump aboard a potentially sinking ship. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know who like the hot would-be offensive coordinator candidates are at this point in time. Like any hot offensive mind is in line to be a head coach. You know what I'm saying? So, and look, you said, and I'm not attacking you for this point, but you said that the Cliff did a great job last year with Jane Daniels. I think that maybe things just broke right for them in 2024. Maybe Jane Daniels was just really awesome, and
so that was hard.
And that makes everybody look good. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So, I'm just hesitant to say that anybody did anything, specifically greater than usual in 2024, outside of the fact that maybe the quarterback just had a revelatory rookie season.
Absolutely. But again, just pointing back to the challenge of replacing these two coordinators, like the Eagles did that. That was in 2023. Had a disastrous year, as we know, especially down the stretch. The Lions this year had to replace two coordinators, and that was a big challenge for them. So not saying they can't overcome it, but this is already a massive challenge now going into year 3 of the Dan Quinn era, and still not having a lot of draft picks to really rebuild that team and overhaul the talent as well.
The Cowboys, by the way, just released a statement on Matt Eberflus. This is Jerry's statement. He said, having known Matt Eberflus for decades now, we have tremendous respect and appreciation for him. Okay, this is lame. I just needed to read it myself. Whatever. But okay, is that it on Washington? I want to make sure we have time for the Giants.
So, seeing reporting that I don't think you mentioned this. Kingsbury expected to interview with the Giants and Titans for head coach openings. So that's kind of funny too. That they're parting ways with him, and he might actually become a head coach.
Somewhere. Wouldn't we be rooting for this, assuming it's not the Giants? Wouldn't it be hilarious if Cliff Kingsbury was awesome as a head coach?
Right.
Like if he gets the Titans job, wouldn't it be amazing to see him go succeed and especially if it were the Titans? Now that I kind of like unpack this a little bit, if he got his hands on Cam Ward, then that would invite some questions of like maybe Jane Daniels sucks now. You know what I mean? Like, which again is what we have to explain this a lot, but what we're rooting for as fans of teams who are in the division with the Washington Commanders. We just want everyone else to be bad and our teams to be the best. But yeah.
Very serious episode because we had so much to get to. It's not like we're messing around. It's like it feels like almost uncharacteristic of the show to be like so like news anchor and now on this story. I also wrote an article in the background for SBNation.com about a golf story. So like there's a lot happening all at once. I have an eye appointment later. Not fully committed to the show. Oh, you're doing the eye appointment. I thought you said you were trying. Well, you didn't want to do it Monday. Okay, so you put it up for Tuesday.
I actually, again, all due respect to Matt Eberflus, I'm very grateful that the firing happened when it did. I was very nervous that it wasn't going to have happened yet, and then it was going to happen while I was at the eye appointment. So I'm grateful that I was able to get everything done. Okay, so are we ready to move on to the Giants? We have less than 10 minutes till stats this year.
The New York Football Giants keeping Joe Schoen. They've just had so much success with this general manager. They simply had to keep him. Do you know, RJ, just how bad the Giants have been during the Joe Schoen era in terms of like their record and where it stands relative to the rest?
I do,
of
but
the NFL.
You should say it. I mean,
well, let me read it.
Yeah,
because you probably don't have the specifics. Obviously, we know that conceptually they've been horrible, but they're 22, 45, and 1 since Schoen was hired in 2022. Only 5 teams have a worse record during that span. You're looking at the Cardinals, the Titans, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Panthers. And since 2023, Giants have the second worst record. It's 13 and 38.
Just to note, that cuts off their 2022 season, which was a playoff year where they did win a playoff game. Like in the interest of context, but so that's why that time is important to look at.
But I also think you could say like that season, it's a little less relevant from a standpoint of like, as they're going deeper into the Joe Schoen era, like he has more his fingerprints are over more of the moves there. Like at that point, when he did some things that benefited Joe Schoen, I think you could say. Anyway, they're 13 and 38 since 2023. That's only it's the second worst record, just ahead of the Titans, who are one game worse than that at 12 and 39. And then they are tied with the Raiders for the second worst record since 2024, which is 7-27, which again is only one game ahead of the 6-28 Titans. So there's this idea, and I think I've touched on this before, that like, oh, actually the roster isn't so bad, and it's just really the coaching staff for the Giants that's really like holding this talent back. And that's just a crazy thing for me to even if that's true, I just don't think you should be operating with that mindset. As we've talked about before, you had a chance to wipe the slate clean. They're not doing it. And as an Eagles perspective, I like that the fact that they're not taking this opportunity to just get it all synced up. And by the way, have gone from the number 1 pick in the draft within 2 weeks, have dropped down to 5 with these
twice.
They
did this in back-to-back years, to be clear.
Yep.
I also should mention on a Cowboys slant that they had won 9 games in a row against the Giants, and Dak had won 14 in a row. Those came to an end, those streaks, obviously because he started the game on Sunday. Just as a note, yeah, like, I mean, this is fantastic news if you're a fan of an NFC East team that isn't the Giants. And I think really depressing news for the Giants. This to me feels like their 2024 offseason that I lived through, where there's just nothing but apathy, like a fire hose of apathy. I wanted to reference this. Now, Big Blue View is my favorite New York Giants website. I know it is yours too. There's obviously lots of coverage about NFL teams all over the place. This actually kind of stopped me. I don't actually know if it's pronounced Dugan or Duggan, but Dan, I'm going to go with Duggan.
I think it's Duggan.
Yeah, Dan Duggan covers the Giants for The Athletic.
2 G's, right?
Right.
I think Duggan would be like 1 G.
Good point. So Dan covers the Giants for The Athletic, does an amazing job covering the Giants in the NFL. And his headline in the aftermath, I don't know if you saw this, of the Joe Schoen staying news, was the Giants made an announcement today. They have no standards anymore. Like, I mean, like, so like, not to get like too editorial or anything, but like that's a headline you would see on like one of our sites, you know, because we're a different company. Like we do things differently, and nothing's right or wrong. But like, so for Dan to say that was really intense. And there's like nobody who supports this whatsoever. And I don't know what I think. Like, I know what I think about the Cowboys and why I think they behave the way they do. And it's difficult because Mr. Mara is dealing with health challenges. And again, we're hoping the best for him with regards to that. And so that has become this weird part of it that Giants fans are using in their, and I mean, I don't know, like, I don't have a take on any of that, but I mean, this has now reached the point of, it's not just bad, now you're toxic. That's why I identify with it. Like, I get what that's like. And so everyone is pissed off and mad all the time because you've lost all this. And what do you even, like, even if you're keeping Joe Schoen, fine. If you had the number 1 overall pick, at least you have that. Like, what is the thing? Like, what is the one thing that you had that at one point you said, okay, well, at least we have this? Is it Jackson Dart? Is it Cam Scatteraboo? Like, as much as I love him, like, what is the thing? I don't know what it is.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes they keep making, the Giants, is that they keep saying like, oh, we can't just make these changes because we've already made so many changes. And that's such a wrong way to think about it, because like, obviously, again, in a perfect world, yes, it's hard to build something when you don't have that stability. But just like we have said, or most people would say, like, doing a thing just to do the thing isn't the solution. A lot of it, like just doing something just to do it for the sake of doing it isn't the solution. That also applies to the inverse of like, not doing a thing just to not do it doesn't mean that's stability and that's good and the sake of continuity for the sake of continuity. And based on merit, there's no reason to keep Joe Schoen. It's insane. I'm glad I'm not a Giants fan because I'd be going insane if this is the situation they were in. And by the way, Giants got lucky that the Commanders did win that game against the Eagles, because they would have dropped to 6th if not for that. Commanders stayed at 7. They couldn't fall lower than that. But that would be crazy. You went through the season, you didn't even get a top 5 pick, keeping the GM who was overseeing one of the very worst teams in the league.
And you're being kind. Like, they have the 5th pick, so they have a top 5 pick, but like it's number 5. You know what I mean? Like, and so we were slacking on Sunday. I know you were busy like getting ready for the Eagles game, but I hit BLG up so everyone can understand what happened here. And I said, dude, it's happening. And because the Cowboys were down 16-10 at halftime.
Loved it.
And then Dak Prescott was on the bench. And the Giants were trying really hard. And I was like, this is actually going to happen. So that was great. Like, I was a little pissed off about the way the Cowboys looked, and that's a different argument. But like, they're so dumb. Like, I already forgot, but like, they have like 22 wins in the last 3 years. 4 of them are in meaningless weeks in the last few years. Like, it's just, they are the most hollow, you know, like, this is a different discussion, but like, what New York, like the Knicks, like what New York team is like real at this point in time? Like, they're all fake and cheesy. You know what I mean? This is just a really, I saw a TikTok of a Giants content creator, and she was saying that she envied how the Cowboys moved on from Matt Eberflus. And I was like, sister, wait a minute. Like, this isn't exactly, worthy of a blue ribbon, but that's how down bad they are, that they're having, they're so jealous of even incompetent moves because they're not making any of those kind.
And again, this is a team that spent like $11 million on Russell Wilson this year. For what? Like they're just like throwing money away. They obviously have a lot of cap space because they have a rookie quarterback, but they're not even like making the most of that. They're like wasting these resources in the meantime. Like they clearly don't know what they're doing. Now, I will say, you wanted to say something?
Did you see the Russell Wilson thing that popped up on Monday? So
how he had like a hamstring injury that he didn't report.
He said
now the Giants can be subject to investigation.
He said in his exit interview that he tore his hamstring, and look, we love Russ, so it's very difficult that he has like gone down this path for us, not just as a show, but as fans of his. But like, this is so lame that he came out and said, I tore my hamstring the week before the Cowboys game, the week before I threw for 400 yards. Look at me, how heroic I am. I mean, it was such a like clearly concocted PR story to like work in Russ's favor ahead of the offseason and get him a job somewhere else. So that I don't put on the Giants whatsoever. Like that is just Russ being lame. But in case anybody saw that, I wanted to touch on it.
So I do think the Giants can get the head coach hiring right. Like I think that's possible. I think they can achieve a good result through a bad process. I think that is possible because if they get Kevin Stefanski, I think that would be a good hire for them. John Harbaugh, we'll see what happens with him in the race. It's possible they get a good hire. But am I like looking at that and being like, that turns the Giants around definitively? No, because there should be nothing, basically, again, unless they had totally wiped the slate clean. In that instance, I would say, okay, there's reason to actually maybe wonder now if they could be on the right track, just from a standpoint, they have totally stripped it down. They're building it all the way back up, as opposed to trying to do whatever it is they're doing here, where they're keeping Joe Schoen. And Jackson Dart, again, I think he has promise. I'm not like out on him by any means, but I don't want to make that bet on him as the guy. So yeah, Giants are a mess.
Stats is out, or Stats is here. So last thing before we bring him in, what's the like piece of Giants news that would concern you the most? It doesn't have to be like they hired this person to be their head coach, but like what could be
I think it would be like Stefanski or Harbaugh. Either way, like I would be like, that might be a good hire for them. It doesn't mean like
I agree with Stefanski. That would be my number one. And the opposite end of that spectrum for me would be that they trade for Mike Tomlin. That the Steelers lose on Monday night, and then they trade for Mike Tomlin. That would be hilarious, and I would love it.
I wouldn't love that. I think they could do worse.
Okay. Here he is, live and in living color. Rob Stats Guerrera, fresh off of his 49ers, looking like absolute losers against a green-birded NFL team, which he hopes is not the case come Sunday afternoon. Stats, Happy New Year. And did you eat your black-eyed peas and cabbage and grapes and all that stuff?
Was nothing happy about this new year.
Stats,
you're going to answer the question? Did you eat this stuff?
No.
You don't believe in this?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
It's a common thing. Like people eat like 12 black-eyed peas, 12 grapes, and I don't know what the cabbage thing, but you eat one like for good luck for every month of the year.
No.
I've never done this, but I vaguely aware of what RJ is referencing it. RJ, did you not plug Stats and where you can find him?
Well, I was getting there, like getting to the 49. I had to.
We'll let him do it.
Stats, last time I brought Stats on, it was to like rub it in your face that the Cowboys beat the Eagles, and he was like actually really negative to me. So I'm still on bad terms with him. But go ahead, Stats.
So I cover the 49ers for the 49ers Gold Standard podcast and YouTube channel. I always say, if you give us a chance, you will like what you see. I haven't liked what I've seen recently, and you should be licking your chops, BLG.
I'm excited. I think this is an exciting matchup from a standpoint too. Last year, like the Eagles played all these teams they had already played a lot in the regular. Like they had obviously played the Commanders twice prior to playing them in the championship game. They played the Rams. They'd played the Packers. So it's exciting from a standpoint of the Eagles haven't played the 49ers in a bit here back in the 2023 season. Obviously, when the 49ers won that game, they got their revenge for the Eagles beating them.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait. This is why like this is what I thought you were going to do when I brought you on last time, and then you failed and only sided with BLG. So first of all, I have said for literal years now that 49ers fans had every right to moan and groan about what happened in the 2022 NFC Championship. They did not have a quarterback. Like what?
Okay.
It was a ticket to the Super Bowl on the line. They did not have a quarterback.
I'm so glad you brought this up.
They did not have a quarterback, and they did not get their revenge. The Eagles collapsed, and Big Dom interfered and got in the way and ruined the game and made it all about himself. And the 49ers smashed them because they were better.
In terms of the 49ers went to the Super Bowl, and
in terms of the last few years, yeah, they lost to the Chiefs. And the Eagles beat the Chiefs the next year in the Super Bowl. Like, good. No one is denying that the Eagles are the reigning Super Bowl champions, Brandon. Like, don't project your Eagles insecurities onto us. But like I have said,
insecurity. That's what happened.
The 49ers were the Eagles before the Eagles are now. They were this badass group of maulers who just punched you in the mouth and left you for dead. And that's why when I went on Kay Adams' show and I pissed all these Eagles fans off, I said, I am terrified of the 49ers. I am in no way spooked by the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles do have insecurities. The Niners don't. The Niners have flaws, but they do not have insecurities, which is why they do not hold any need to get any kind of revenge for what happened in 2022. You seem to care more about that. You care more about the slippery field 2 weeks later in Arizona where Jonathan Gannon went and got fired and all this stupid stuff ever since then. So I really think the idea that they're getting revenge is stupid for multiple reasons, including the fact that if they wanted to, they have a reason to. They did not have a quarterback stats.
First of all, there is nothing that can happen in this game. There's nothing that happened in 2023 to get revenge for losing the NFC Championship game. That was a Super Bowl team for the 49ers that did not get to go to the Super Bowl. There is nothing that could make up for it. If the Niners beat the Eagles 100-0 and storm to the playoffs and win the Super Bowl this year, they'll still be a Super Bowl short. They still don't get to go back in time to 2022. So it doesn't matter at all. It has nothing to do with it. And by the way, this 49er team is so far removed from that 49er team in 2022. They're not even close. They wear the same colors. That's about it.
The only thing I want to say that's funny about the whole, didn't have a quarterback thing is the 49ers literally proposed a rule so you could have an emergency quarterback again.
That made sense.
Right? Okay. It makes sense, right? So how many times have they actually done that and designated the third quarterback since then? Zero. They don't even do it. It's a total farce. They just went, wah. And also, the common thread here is Kyle Shanahan just complaining and being a total loser complaining. Hold on, I'm not
crying
done.
for wanting to change the onside kick. Like if they don't enact the rule every time afterwards,
did their season end because of that scenario? No. Anyway,
it's a very practical rule that other teams have benefited from.
The 49ers haven't even made use of it, and they're the ones who cried for it.
Benefited the NFL.
That's so funny. Anyway. They wanted it for themselves, and they didn't even use it.
Okay, let's start.
It's stupid. But here's my point. My larger point is that I think Kyle Shanahan whines a lot. And you just saw it after this game in the Seahawks. He's talking about, we could have won the game. Well, I don't know the exact phrasing. Stats, you could do that better than me. But the effect of what he was said from what I saw was like, man, I would have had a better chance to win that game if it was on Saturday. Guess who else had to play on Saturday? The Seahawks, who absolutely dominated the 49ers. So I just think that the 49ers have this mentality sometimes of like, we're the victims, and look at us. And look, they've been a resilient team this year. I give them credit in terms of all the injuries they've had, and they've navigated that, and that's impressive to me. I thought the 49ers were really heating up down the stretch. I thought Brock Purdy looked really good against the Bears. So I think they're going to bring a fight to Philly. But I do think I like the Eagles to come out on top, obviously.
Stats, couple comments for you. Eagles Grow, who's one of our most passionate live audience members, says Happy New Year to you, although you seem pretty morose about it still.
No, you missed it. Thank you for the sentiment, but wait for Happy New Year. January 1st is the day. After that, it's over.
Brett Eclipse says, how bad is the linebacker health situation? That's why you're here. Here's
how bad it is. Every single linebacker that made the initial 53-man roster is hurt. That's not an exaggeration. It is a statement of fact. They have Garrett Wallow is going to line up at linebacker for the 49ers. And if you're saying, who is that? So am I, because I didn't know he was on the team until he got a penalty last week. That's how bad and banged up they are. It is. The defense is horrible. They can't stop the run. They can't rush the passer. And they missed 18 tackles last week. They're awful. It is flat out. There is one path of victory for the 49ers in this game. They have to take the ball first. They have to score a touchdown. They have to somehow trip over themselves and stop the Eagles. They have to get the ball back, and they have to go up 2 scores. If they go up 2 scores and they play the game script from there, that is where they have been successful this year. They can navigate that because their offense has been so good and their special teams have been so good that they're always able to push it back to 2 scores, even if the other team scores a touchdown or gets a field goal. That's the path to victory for the 49ers. Otherwise, they won't win.
It's very funny that, like, 49ers defense, it's so terrible. And it is bad. It's a really bad defense, in part because of the injuries. And yet, like, I have no confidence in the Eagles offense being able to take advantage of this. And we saw this against the Bears. The Bears were, like, without 4 of their top 6 linebackers. Everyone going into that game against Chicago on Black Friday is like, Eagles need to take advantage of this. Maybe the run game gets going. Maybe Dallas Goedert has a big game. Really take advantage of these Bears linebackers who nobody knows who they are. Eagles didn't do that at all. So, like, I don't look at this matchup for the Eagles. I don't look at a weak defense in general, unless it's like the level of the Raiders, which we saw, or the Giants in that Eagles-Giants second game they played this season, unless it's like that bad. And I don't think the 49ers are quite that level of a team. So I just don't have faith in the Eagles. Might be able to like do enough, might be able to muster enough on offense, but I have no faith in them having this like big day against this defense, even though it is really banged up.
Okay, Stats, couple more questions for you from the chat. First of all, there's a lot of notion about how Kyle Shanahan blocked the Eagles' best pass rusher with a third string tight end. So we're still having the quarterback discussion from the 2022 NFC title game. Anyway, so Red Eclipse had a follow-up question. How would you grade Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator this year? So is it just the injuries? Is it he sucks? I mean, you are pretty angry. So, like, where do you direct this?
Well, it's really hard to grade him because take your 2 best players, potentially 2 Hall of Fame-ish type players, and take them off your defense. And then let's see how your defense does. In addition to all the other injuries, like those 2 guys, first and foremost. I mean, Bosa missed 14 games. Fred Warner missed 11 games. So it's hard to evaluate. They have done the best that they can do. And I really do think that if they had their pieces, this would be a top 3 defense in the NFL. I really do. But you can't just say, well, if everybody stayed healthy, because nobody ever stays healthy. So it's been frustrating. There's a lot of dropping into zone coverage, soft zone coverage, like constantly. And I get it. Like, they're not that good, but sometimes you have to do something different. They don't disguise things. I'd love to see Robert Saleh back this year. I would love it, for the record. But, you know, I would give him a solid B+ this year.
Okay, so this kind of takes us to, I think, the story of the game. Stats are obviously really upset about the Niners defense. BLG is well on record, and so is every Eagles fan at being upset about the Eagles offense. Stoppable force meeting a movable object. I'm an impartial party here, I think, you know, for the most part. I think the worst off group between the Eagles offense and the Niners defense is the Eagles offense. That's the one that I would trust less, if that makes sense. Like I'm not saying the word better is being used very loosely here, but I think the Niners defense is better. And I also think obviously the Eagles defense is tremendous, and the Niners offense is coming off of a very poor outing against Seattle. We all obviously agree with that, but very recently was operating at an extreme high. So like if we're just taking the 4 sides of the ball, I think the best one in the game is the Niners offense. The second best one's obviously the Eagles defense. And I think the worst one in the game is the Eagles offense, which is why I'm inclined to give the benefit or the credit or the whatever. I lean San Francisco. BLG, you can go first here.
Well, naturally. But here's a fun fact for you, or I'll pose it as a question. How many touchdowns in 4 meetings from Kyle Shanahan versus Vic Fangio, which in fairness, the last one was back in 2018. But how many touchdowns have the 49ers scored, the Shanahan teams, because it's been multiple, Washington.
So entirely different teams and rosters that have no.
How many have they scored? How many they've scored against Fangio? 1. He scored Kyle Shanahan scored one touchdown against Vic Fangio. He is 1-3. Shanahan is 1-3 against Fangio in those games. That one touchdown was a garbage time touchdown, by the way. With a minute left in the game.
I would like to point out the quarterbacks of those teams were John Beck, Robert Griffin, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Nick Mullins.
Absolutely. That's fair. I'm not saying like it means that the 49ers aren't going to score a touchdown this weekend, but I think Kyle Shanahan has said it himself in that interview he did for The Athletic, which also had like Sean McVay and Matt LaFleur, and they're all talking about how, Vic Fangio is the guy. He's like the boogeyman. Like he is the guy who shuts down the system. Again, that doesn't mean I think the 49ers are going to be held to 3 points, just like they were against the Seahawks. But I do have a lot of faith in Vic Fangio and this Eagles defense. They've had games this year, few and far between. First Giants game, Bears game, as I just mentioned, where they just absolutely got bullied and like completely run over. So maybe the 49ers come to town and they get Christian McCaffrey going. That's not impossible to me, but I think more often than not, they've just been so locked down. And the fact that I brought this up before, but it's crazy how the Eagles having 2 games this year, which they are 2-0 in, where they have not completed a pass in the second half, is a testament to something, but it really is a testament to just how good the defense is that you can actually win a game like that. So I do feel good about the Eagles defense, even though the 49ers offense was heating up prior to the Seahawks game.
Then rank the 4 things like I did.
Eagles defense is number 1. I think they're one of the best defenses in the NFL. That 49ers offense, by the way.
So do you agree with 3 and 4 then? Like, do you agree that the Eagles offense is the 4th of the 4 things?
Yes, because I think the Eagles can't get out of their way and off. Like, it's not even about the team. I don't care. The Eagles, again, unless it's like the Raiders, the very extreme example. I just don't trust the Eagles offense against anyone because I think they're their own biggest enemy. I don't care who they're playing. It's just like I don't trust them to get out of their own way.
Well, that's what I've been saying because, look, the experts are picking the Eagles. I've said I expect the Eagles to win this game, but I've also said, because there are a lot of 49er fans that are shoveling dirt on the team already, like they still have to kick the ball off and play the game. And we have seen weird stuff happen in playoff games. The 49ers specifically have some of the weirdest playoff wins in recent history. I mean, they won a game. They didn't score an offensive touchdown in Green Bay a few years ago because they blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown against a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers. They had the biggest comeback ever in the NFC Championship game because the other coach kept going for it on 4th down and not getting it.
And nobody criticizes him for that, by the way.
Weird stuff happens in the playoffs. Like the better team doesn't always win. The Niners would have 3 more Super Bowl trophies if the better team always won. They don't. So I give the 49ers a puncher's chance in this game. And I don't know. You probably do need the Eagles to go into one of their weird offensive funks, but it has happened. Like that's a thing that is a real thing. If I'm Kyle Shanahan, I go in there and I throw everything at Philly. Kitchen sink game, whatever it is, fake punts, going for it every time on 4th down. You're probably going to lose anyway. Go out in a blaze of glory. Go nuts. I thought they were so shell-shocked in the Seattle game. They were like, please don't hurt us. They only had a couple of guys out eligible in the pass plays because they were trying to protect, which they still couldn't do. It was very much like, we know we can't block them, so let's just forget that. Go out and go nuts. I'm Kyle Shanahan. I got a quarterback I believe in. This year has been the year from hell, but what have we got to lose? I hope they do that. If they lose, they lose. But I did not like the mentality that they came out with in a massive game against Seattle in Week 18.
2 things here. But first, stats. Brandon would have preferred that the Eagles play the Packers. Obviously, if things had broken the other direction, if either the Eagles had won or the Lions hadn't beaten Chicago, would you have rather faced Chicago?
Yes, just because I think the game would be more interesting. I think there's a chance that the Eagles just smother the 49ers like the Seahawks did, and that's a boring game. At least Niners-Bears, it was fireworks. If I got to go out, give me that. If the last football game of my team that I'm going to watch is on, I hope it's a 38-35 game and not a 20-3 game.
Okay, so that was the first thing. So this is the situation that neither of you preferred. Good thing that we're all friends.
It was more about, to me, though, the 2 seed as I don't care who played. I just wanted the 2 seed.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. My other thing is this does feel like 2 different teams who are meeting that were the same team at different points in time. Like stats, I thought you were going to bring up. What was it that Jimmy Garoppolo threw 8 passes in one of the NFC Championship games? What was
threw 8, completed 6.
Thank you. Like the Niners were the team. Like we had all the Brock Purdy arguments. Like they were the team that it doesn't matter if the quarterback is trash. It doesn't matter if he can do anything. Everything around the quarterback elevates him. It's the Iron Man suit. Anyone can step into it. And we're having those same discussions with Jalen Hurts. The Eagles are just not only at a different part, or of the timeline of the Niners, they've also won a Super Bowl where the Niners, haven't at this point. So it's a weird. I do think whoever loses this game leaves with more insecurity, to go back to that sort of theme. But I think whoever wins this game sort of is liberated from it. I think whoever wins this game feels this sense of hey, none of that really matters anymore. I know that both of these teams have won multiple playoff games, and so maybe you feel it isn't a point of insecurity for either one of you, but that's how I feel as a third party.
Well, my biggest concern going into this game is something Stats kind of just touched on there from a standpoint of go down swinging, at least try. And that's what frustrates me about Nick Sirianni so much, because so much of the offensive philosophy is just don't turn the ball over at all costs. It doesn't even matter. We don't have to get yards. We don't have to get points. Just don't turn the ball over. Don't turn the ball over. By the way, the Eagles just lost when they won the turnover differential in Week 18, as a funny aside there. But like I'll have a hard time going down if it's one of these situations, kind of like when the Eagles lost to the Cowboys. The Eagles had a chance late in that first half there to get another field goal, but Nick was like, "No, I'm good. You know, we don't need to do that because we can't turn it over. That's the worst thing that can happen." And it's like a fear-based mindset that I don't respect. And he used to feel differently. I think I used to feel differently about Nick like that. I gave him more benefit of the doubt and was really ripping Kyle Shanahan a lot for not going for it on fourth down, which apparently I think he's gotten better at stats. Is that fair to say?
Better. Like
so,
they go for it. Yeah, they're one of the third best team in terms of going for it when they should.
So yeah, I'm worried about that's my biggest concern with the Eagles heading into the playoffs. I think there's reasons you can say, oh, Lane Johnson's coming back. Maybe the rest does help. Jalen Hurts has some of his biggest games in the playoffs. You can point to all those things as some kind of reasons for optimism, but ultimately, like the head coach is my biggest concern entering the playoffs.
It is crazy to me because I sit here and say, I don't think Nick Sirianni is a good head coach, but I have no argument that supports it. I can't go to wins. I can't go to playoff success. I can't go to Super Bowl. There is no argument. Like, I think Kyle Shanahan is a way better coach than Sirianni, but all the evidence says that that's not true.
Well, you can point specifically to what Kyle Shanahan is contributing to the winning, right? You're like, well, he's calling these plays and this offense is really good, so I can see that. What are you looking at when you're pointing to Nick? It's always very, very like vague and ambiguous. It's like, well,
it's
the
vibes
culture's
based. That's
so
all it
good.
is. Yeah.
And it's like, but like, it doesn't feel that way always.
You feel miserable. Eagles fans are miserable. You're the defending Super Bowl champion, and you're back in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
You won the division.
The only team in the NFL who won their division twice in a row.
Right. And I feel like Eagles fans are this is the best era of Eagles football ever.
Well, here's the thing. It's not fun to watch. Like on a Sunday, like you don't watch the game on Sunday and you're like, wow, I had so much
multiple
fun
things could be true
because of the aesthetic. You're enjoying hold on, wait. You're enjoying the bigger picture? Absolutely. I'm not saying you should take that for granted when you zoom out, but when you're actually in the moment, in the game on Sunday, you're like, why does it have to be this hard? Why is it like it's like pulling teeth to get a win? Like they're gonna win, but they do it in the most like insufferable kind of way possible. It's not a fun aesthetic. It's not.
Multiple things can be true. That this is the greatest era of Philadelphia Eagles football ever.
Yes.
That it's insufferable to experience. And that you saying that comes across a little tone deaf to people who haven't experienced something like that. All these things can be and are true. Stats, what are you nodding at me over? Like, congrats, you lost 2 Super Bowls. Like, I mean, so I don't know, what you're excited about at this point. But that being said, Stats asked me a few weeks ago, Brandon. I don't know if he asked you. But he I forget what the phrasing was, Stats, but it was like, what's the reason why the Niners win the Super Bowl? Or give me your take. I forget. Do you remember what it was when you texted me?
I think I just asked you for your honest opinion.
Okay, so in my opinion then, and this leads us into game picks, was this has to be the year. Like if it doesn't happen now, when can it? And I don't think that same pressure exists over the Eagles. Some because I give the Eagles a lot of benefit of the doubt to always kind of think their way out of the box and find a new way. Even if they moved on from Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown or whoever, like they will think of a new way to have a chance. But the Niners are near the end of this rope, and not the Brock Purdy rope, but like the George Kittle rope, the Christian McCaffrey rope, like maybe even the Kyle Shanahan rope, as far as being like elite. Like this core that has sustained them through all of this is on the verge of, fizzing out. And so like this is a more like needed time for the Niners, in my opinion, which I do think adds to the like pending insecurity. That being said, I'm going to pick the Niners because I think they're the more desperate team. And I think the Eagles are the team more inclined to lean into their self-created insecurities. But the line, by the way, is 4.5.
Which has moved up from originally before the game. It was like 1.5, I think, but like the look ahead line before the games were set. And then it was at 3. Ahead. There you go. It was at 3 and then went to 3.5 and now what, 4.5, you said?
All right. So I've made my pick and I'm obviously going to take the points because I think the Niners are going to win this game. Stats, you're the guest, so you can go before BLG.
Well, I'm picking the Eagles to win the game for sure. I think the 49ers can win it. I think all the pressure is on the Eagles. And what you have to hope for as a 49er fan is that the Niners can score and get up early. Maybe the Eagles make a mistake or just have a couple of 3-and-outs. The crowd starts to turn on Philly a little bit. Maybe Sirianni gets, a little conservative. AJ Brown starts to pop. Like, you're going to need the Eagles to help you out in this if you're going to pull it off. Can they do it? Absolutely, they can do it. Do I expect them to do it? No, but at least go down fighting if you're going to go down.
Yeah, you said it well there, Stats, in terms of like, I think the Eagles' biggest opponent is like themselves. I think they are quite capable of beating themselves. I think one interesting thing about the Niners this year that I was kind of thinking about, especially prior to they lost in week 18, was the fact that the 49ers in years past, when they were so good, were like the it team in the NFL or one of them. And I think like that's fun. At the same time, I think there is a lot of pressure that comes with that. And this year felt different to me from a standpoint of like everyone just kind of wrote them off early, at least relative to the other NFC powers that be, because they were so banged up. And I think that they almost benefited from that, from a standpoint of like, oh, like we're kind of just quietly doing our thing, racking up some wins here. And I think that's like a good place for them to be now. They blew it because I think like had they won that week 18 game, it's just such a massive swing being the 1 seed. I think no team in the NFC needed that 1 seed more than the 49ers needed that rest and that shot in the arm there, that boost that would have given them home field as well. So to lose that, and I don't want to fall into the trap of it's 1 week and then therefore that carries over to the next week for sure. But the 49ers just look so defeated after that game against the Seahawks. It looked like the Seahawks kind of like took their soul a little bit. And maybe it is premature, like you're saying, stats, people throwing dirt on the grave before it's done. I think the Eagles offense, again, as I've said many a time here, is not good enough to just assume the Eagles are going to roll this team. But with the line moving in the Eagles' favor, and with them being the more well-rested team and just healthier in general, they're going to have like almost every starter from week 1, except for like Andrew Makuba. And then obviously Nakobe Dean is back now. He was on the PUP list to begin the season. I think the Eagles do win this game. I'll take them and I'll give the points.
Stats, where do you lie on the points? 4.5.
No, I think the Eagles are going to win by multiple scores.
Wow.
Okay, so you're laying the points. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in the icebox. so just so we're clear here, I am in
There's
the
no sound effects.
I know. I thought about like stalling for a second and trying to find it if I could. But I am in the icebox on behalf of the 49ers. I never would have thought that would have been the case.
We need Stats to give us a song.
Yeah, Stats. You know the drill here, even though you forgot last time.
We never prepare him for this. So then it really puts him on a bad spot every time.
He knows the premise of the show.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like his job to remember the premise.
No, but
of
I
the show.
mean, like this would be like, oh, Stats, we didn't prep you to have trivia to play Jeopardy. You know what I mean? Like this is part of the gig. So Stats, what song and why are you choosing?
I think partly because I'm still in mourning over the end of the show, but I'm going to go running up that hill. Kate Bush.
Wow.
Is this
Love it.
The 49ers need to make a deal with God if they're going to win this playoff game on Sunday on my birthday, by
Wow.
the way.
Well, happy birthday, Stats.
Thank you.
2 things, Stats. One, you are somebody I remember a long time ago who said, like, I don't know why people are so humble when it's their birthday. You were like, I want everyone to wish me a happy birthday. You were like, I love telling people that it's my birthday. So happy early birthday to you.
Thank
Fair
you.
take.
Huge birthday guy. Make a huge deal out of me.
Number 2, is that the Stranger Things song?
Yes.
And have you both finished it?
Yes.
Yes. No spoilers, but I enjoyed it.
Review it.
I enjoyed it.
I
Okay.
really liked it. Like, was it perfect? No, but if you understand what the show was, the entire existence of the show, you will understand why the finale ends the way it ends. I'm doing a
You could say that
rewatch.
about the Dallas Cowboys too, by the way.
But I thought it was really good. I thought it was really enjoyable. And sometimes I feel like they just want to hate on stuff, man.
It's literally, I think I said that on the mixtape last week. I think people it's become a weird internet clout thing, specifically when it comes to like, hit TV shows. But whatever, if people feel that way, I'm not going to blame them. If you genuinely didn't like it, I'm sorry. That sucks. Me, I had a good time. I didn't feel like my time was wasted. I enjoyed it. I'm actually sad it's over. I felt bummed, like, man, I can't believe I don't get to watch this show anymore. So
I'm doing a rewatch. I started over.
I've seen a lot of people doing that, and I don't blame
you guys buy the secret finale theory or whatever?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
I've seen this on TikTok. I don't watch the show anymore, and I've just caught up through TikTok. But there's like a fan theory that there's a like secret finale that is supposed to drop tomorrow. There's some like justification or reason
tomorrow?
or logic. I don't know. I can't tell you that like somebody has a theory. It's not just like dropped out of thin air. Like they supported it with facts that I don't know because I don't watch.
I guess it'd be cool. I don't know.
But yeah. So. All right. Stats.
I do like a surprise album drop. Sometimes you see artists do that. Like, that's fun to me.
Stats, as we leave, plug away and then closing thoughts and then go do your own show.
Check out the 49ers Gold Standard podcast and YouTube channel, wherever you get your audio podcasts, or like I said, just dial up the old YouTubes. This has been a season of the unexpected. Every time you think the 49ers can't do something, they do it this year. They won 12 games. They were competing for the 1 seed with a pile of injuries. It was ridiculous. Can they do the ridiculous thing one more time? Let's find out on Sunday. And then we can do the autopsy after the season if it ends then.
Well said. Stats. What are you eating for dinner? That's my last question.
I don't know. We usually get Blue Apron, so hopefully Blue Apron shows
Nice.
up, and we'll pick one of those.
Wow. Oh, a bit of a shot from Eagles Girl. Enjoy the off season. Look at that. Just like
I will.
Stats, be well, and Des caught it. That was awesome. A lot better than his last appearance because he was not mean to the Cowboys this time. So
Check him out on social media too, at Stats on Fire. If you didn't say that, Stats is
right.
a great follow for all things 49ers and NFL at large.
Okay, so are we ready to do our songs?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's that time of the show already. It didn't. Wow, this episode has really flown by. Probably because Stats was here.
A lot to get to your point earlier. And so we've taken care of everything unless you had any final notes. Nothing happened while we were on that we would need to address for what it's worth.
Yeah, I don't think so. Well, we do picks before songs, or do we songs before picks? So we already did our picks.
Yeah,
I
we
guess.
did the pick. Were you
we didn't do
listening
the
to
Cowboys
show that
game.
you were a part of?
Oh wait, sorry, that's my bad.
This is like in the go watch your VHSs.
Why don't we let's run through some of the other games, because I think that's kind of fun to. I want to see what we think the next round will shape up like. So we'll go in chronological order of the games as listed here. I'm not going to ask you pick spread. I just want the money line pick. But just for
Rams.
Context, I will say the Rams are 10.5 point favorites against the Carolina Panthers. I guess we're both taking the Rams there.
Yeah, I mean, Panthers have been a fun story, but I mean, no, I'm sorry.
Okay, so the 5 seed advances there, and then so it's fun that we get to see both NFC games on Saturday from a standpoint of then we figure out what the next round is going to look like.
Did you see the explanation for this? I saw it this morning, by the way.
No.
So the Texans Steelers game was slotted as the Monday night wildcard game, and so they could not put any AFC games on Saturday,
Right?
And therefore bake in a huge rest advantage against whichever team wins the game.
Yeah.
So that was why they had to put the AFC games on Sunday specifically. So
stop doing the Monday games. It's stupid. We don't need it. All right.
It's also really stressful. I did not, even though the Cowboys won, I did not enjoy it. That day was awful. Like I felt horrible the entire day. Okay, so Rams, I'll set this game up if you don't mind.
Yep.
This game's on Prime, the night game on Saturday. So just heads up so nobody misses it. It's the Packers in Chicago. Selfishly, very happy that I can root against the Eagles and Packers individually and don't have to have the Sophie's choice of one or the other. I obviously want the Packers to lose. That goes without saying for in general, but also because of the draft pick primarily. I don't think they will. I said this last week when we were talking, like this is going to be classic Bears. Like it's going to be an amazing season that falls the same way it always does, and is going to invite insecurity. Has been a common theme in terms of my points here. It's going to invite that same insecurity. The Packers are going to have lost 4 games in a row and then go into Chicago and beat them. 5 games.
I know they rested their starters, but still.
Right. But go into Chicago and beat the Bears and just, I mean, it will be a tough scene for Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I am a little surprised to see the Packers are favored on the road in this matchup. Now, again, they did get the benefit of rest, which the Bears did not since they played in Week 18. Didn't look very interested in winning that game, which is weird because, they could guarantee the 2 seed with that win. But I think that speaks to the Bears. The Bears have had a great year. Let's be clear in terms of like the bigger picture. I don't think they're there yet. I do think, you look at like point differential, DVOA and things like they've outperformed their record a little bit here. Caleb Williams, I still don't fully trust him. He's had probably a better year than I would have expected for sure. But the inexperienced playoff quarterback is a real thing in the playoffs in terms of like when you're betting against something, that's a good thing typically to bet against. That being said, I don't like where the Packers are at right now. So I'm going to take the Bears, plus I'm getting the points at home. It's only 1.5, but I'll take that, getting that at home. So I'll say the Bears win. Therefore, my next round looks like the Eagles playing the Bears in Chicago, which, again, would have been nice to have that 2 seed because now you're playing that game on the road. And then I have the Seahawks hosting, which I really think we should. I think we all deserve to see the Seahawks and the Rams play a third time. That's been a pretty entertaining matchup this year. So that's my prediction. You, on the other hand, are saying the Seahawks will host the Packers,
Right.
and then the Rams will host the 49ers.
I'd also be great to see another Rams-Niners game, to be clear. Like I think any version of another NFC West tilt that we can get is good for football. Yeah, this was fun. I'm glad we did this.
Well, that's the NFC.
Right.
Let's quickly run. Let's just a quick run through AFC. I'm going to say the Bills beat the Jags. Do you disagree?
I don't. And I also think, again, on the subject of insecurity, there's going to be an AFC quarterback who has this is going to be a like legacy altering playoff for like someone is going to reach the Super Bowl and that's going to be like used for them like, oh, Trevor Lawrence reached the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? Whatever, or an AFC championship game, whatever. And it's going to happen because there's no Mahomes, there's no Burrow, there's no Jackson. So I mean, like the pressure is on Josh Allen. Like I hate to be that guy, but like Josh, it will never, ever look like this ever again, in all likelihood, man. Like, you have to do it right now. And if you don't, I saw Giants fans, I don't know if you saw this, were really upset that Josh Allen went and took the first snap last week to preserve his consecutive start string. I'm okay with that because it wasn't a meaningless game because they were eliminated. It was meaningless because they're going to the playoffs. That being said, like that kind of stuff is all going to look real stupid. And I think Sean McDermott could get fired if they lose this game. I think they'll win, but this is probably the game I feel the least confident about.
Yeah, I like the Bills to win. The Jags they've been really good this year. Respect. I've been doubting them a lot. They've been good. I do feel like, and I don't even hate the Jags, so this isn't coming from a place of disdain for them, but it does feel to me like, what is even the point of the Super Bowl of the Jags? Like, what does that mean if the Jags win the Super Bowl? Like, what is that? I guess good for their fan base, but like, what does that actually mean in like the history of the NFL? It's like it'll just be like, oh, remember that one year where the Jags won? Like that was really weird. I think that's what that looks like, unless they build on it. But yeah, after
the Rams beat the Bengals in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, I asked Michael Peterson on a Monday Football Monday episode. I was like, is anybody really mad about this? Like was there anyone who was like upset that the Rams won the Super Bowl? No, like we were more than anything mad that the Bengals didn't get that moment because that would have been cool for Joe Burrow. But continue.
So then I will take the Patriots to beat the Chargers. I mean,
same. Yeah, that's pretty.
Come on.
Yeah.
At that point, we
also,
go to Monday Night Football.
Assuming this happens the way we just outlined, well, and assuming you're right, and on Saturday night, and then if the moment the Patriots win in that hypothetical, I promise you, I will tweet the Dallas Cowboys remain the only 2 seed to ever lose to a 7 seed in the wild card round of the playoffs.
Well, so I'll appreciate that. And then I'll take the Texans to beat the Steelers. I know betting against Tomlin as a home dog, as the Ravens just were reminded, it's a dangerous game. But I really like this Texans defense, and that team as a whole has just been. They were 0-3, and since then they've been a whole lot better. Actually, a very rare team that moved on from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and actually got better. But the Texans did. So, and I like D'Amico Ryans a lot. I just think the Steelers have been kind of like holding this together with like gum and glue, what's the phrase? I don't know, tape and glue. Like it's all kind of just like
duct tape, glue,
barely held together. And I think it's going to cost them at some point. So I'll actually take the Steelers to cover the spread because it'll be like probably a really close game. But I'll take, not that we're making that pick anyway, but I'll take the Texans to win the game.
I think the Texans are going to win, but like I'm very shocked. And this is an acknowledgement of my own insecurities on Sunday night. And this is very difficult for me to say. A part of me was kind of rooting for Aaron Rodgers. Like it was kind of cool. Like it was just kind of cool to like see him like do it. And like, I mean,
you
to
should
see
feel
like,
so dirty right now.
I do. I did the whole time. Like, I mean, there's no denying like they're probably the prettiest thrower of the football we'll ever see. Like, I mean, it's just beautiful. And so like, it was just kind of cool. And some of it was that the game was like back and forth in nature and that kind of like amplified the energy. But so I think
Lamar losing to old ass Aaron Rodgers.
I think that so you and I both believe then that the divisional round will be Buffalo in Denver and Houston and New England. And I'll say now that I think both wild cards win that game.
I think
we get
I don't like the Broncos.
Yeah, and that would put the AFC title game in Houston. So I think Houston hosts Buffalo in the AFC Championship game.
And then I think the Bills win that. And then I think the Bills get to the Super Bowl, and then we'll see who they play.
Okay, so we've made our picks. A couple of comments to address here, and then we'll get to the songs. The Eagles girl noted that she was not taking a shot at stats, but she sees how I interpret it that way. She also asked if I watched Wicked for Good. I'm still sick.
Yeah, I've
that
not
isn't
yet.
obvious. So I haven't yet, but I did get screeners yesterday for Same Song Sung, whatever it's called, with Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson. So I'm excited to also watch that, and got one last night from Marty Supreme. So I'm excited to watch that as well. Also, this is more of a you question because you'll have things to do after the Eagles. I'm already tending to them for the Cowboys, but if there will be NFC East mixtapes throughout the playoffs as long as the Eagles are still in.
Well, definitely if the Eagles are still
Right.
in. If they're not, then we might take a little bit of a break, depending on, if there's this thing. Like I was saying, I guess it's revealing a little peek behind the curtain here. I don't think the plan is currently, at least in my mind, do the mixtape like every single week like we used to, because we were pretty committed to that. And there's some shows in the off season where some of them are fun in terms of like our all-star team, and I wish it'd be cool to bring some of those back. But there's some weeks in there where it's also like we literally don't have a topic, so we're kind of just forcing it. And I'd rather just kind of like maybe take a week or two off at that point and not do those. So if the Eagles get eliminated, we'll talk about the game, obviously, the loss, but then maybe for a little bit we'll go dark for it. We'll see. We'll play it by ear, but we'll make the promise to you that if they are in the playoffs, if any NFC East team was in the playoffs still, we obviously have to be talking about them.
I agree with that entirely, obviously. And for what it's worth, SB Nation is sending me again to the Super Bowl. So hopefully I don't have to cover the Eagles once more. Wow. That would be horrible and miserable. So that will affect that week is really why I brought it up. Okay.
How many times could the Eagles like go to the Super Bowl and win for you to be like, I don't want to go to the Super Bowl anymore?
I mean,
if it just kept happening.
This is an extreme first world problem. Like, I fully recognize this. It's not as awesome as you think. Like when your team isn't in it, obviously. Like last year, I mean, and I would never not do it. Like it's an incredible thing, and I'm incredibly blessed. But like, it's an awesome day to be at home. It's an awesome day to like watch on TV. It's an awesome day to like, have food and stuff. And then I was also last year, at least, I was with Pete, who was like devastated. So then I had to like kind of help him, and I had like a 5 a.m. flight. So and I was sick then, if you recall. So it was a really just like horrible sequence. Like I will unfortunately never forget like how crazy it got after the Cooper DeJean pick six. It was, it felt like I was like trapped in hell. Like it was horrible. So okay, so songs. I think we all have like maybe 5 or 6 YouTube videos that we watch pretty often, like we recycle as human beings. And one for me, ever since I discovered it, is the Chad Smith cover of The Kill, like where he listens to it for the first time. Whatever. Right. So it's a different Drumeo video with Chad Smith. It's not that one. It's the same session, obviously. And I didn't know this until that. He plays the drums on Break My Heart by Dua Lipa. So he recorded the drums for that for her when she put that record together. And so my song is Break My Heart by Dua Lipa, as inspired by Chad Smith.
I was going to say, if you're adding The Kill by 30 Seconds to Mars, it's like a very neat addition to add to the playlist. I know the band I'm going to add this week. I've been listening to a lot of AFI lately. Are you familiar with AFI, RJ?
All
Miss Murder was their big song. It was on Madden 04, Madden 05. One of those playlists I really love a lot. I think I like both, but one of those I especially love. Anyway, stands for A Fire Inside, AFI. Been around for a long time. A lot of good albums. I've been listening to their whole discography this week, just feeling like an AFI mood. And I'm going through the songs here because I'm like, man, which one do I pick? There's so many good ones. I think I'm going to go with this used to be my MySpace song. How about that? I'm going to go with The Missing Frame by AFI. It's from the album December Underground. That's all one word. I think it's an underrated song. Really good AFI song. I'm not going to add the hit to the playlist. I'm going to add the deep cut. And yeah, I thought about going Torch songs. That's a really cool intro. Playoffs are here. I was excited for that. But I'm going to go with The Missing Frame by AFI.
And what was Stats' song? Running Up That Hill.
By Lauryn Hill.
Wow.
Do we not have that on there already?
We did not.
Okay.
So, yeah, we've got, a variety of things here.
That is true.
Do you know how many songs are on here?
I do not.
196. So in the next 2 episodes, at least, I'll probably take at least 2, because even if we had a guest next week,
it's a 13-hour, 25-minute playlist.
We're 4 songs away from 200. So I always add my song first. So you will be the 200th song, unless we have a guest next week.
Well, maybe we will. TBD.
Michael says my favorite band of all time. I discovered them through Seamus's interview with the singer on BGN Radio. Rest in peace.
Wait, who is AFI or discovered them through?
Oh no, I'm sorry. The Wonder Years. The Wonder Years.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like the Wonder Years a lot. Dan Campbell. Funny enough, not the Lions Dan Campbell, but that's actually his name, the lead singer of the Wonder Years, who goes by Soupy, I believe, which is a nice little fun nickname that he has. But yeah, Dan Campbell, big Birds fan, like legit, like was talking with Seamus, not just like, oh, I like the Eagles, like talking about like, roster machinations and stuff. Shout out to our good friend Brendan Ekstrom as well, who's I've shouted out with his band, his new project that he has going on, really cool. Originally from Circus 5. So Hyperviolets, check them out as well.
Eagles Girl, longtime listener, says I also miss having Rachel songs too. I think we can workshop this internally behind the scenes and in Slack. At some point across the offseason, we should check in with everyone from the NFC's Mixtape universe.
It's good.
We should get Rachel in on an episode, Steven in on an episode. We've obviously had Stats in, and we get Pete in, and maybe Kist.
Everyone from the SB Nation NFL universe too. Yeah, like Kist.
If Kist could take a break from,
I was gonna say, I don't know if Michael Kist has time for. I mean, I'm sure he does, but I don't. He might not with how big he is. Jeremy from part of Detroit, obviously. Yeah, everyone.
Okay, so as we leave, Brandon, why don't you tell us what I should have for lunch? How about that?
Oh man, well, it is Tuesday. I don't know how that factors in, but somehow in my mind it does. You're talking about something from home, or are you talking about getting out, or it's just?
How about this? What's the ideal Tuesday lunch?
I was thinking like a not too heavy of a sandwich. Like a cheesesteak, for example, I love a cheesesteak, but maybe a little too heavy. At this point, I'm thinking maybe like a chicken salad, something like like satisfying, but not too heavy.
Yeah.
I just had a really good one recently. That was like a spicy chicken salad. It was a sandwich. I got it on a Kaiser. It was great.
Awesome. Then say chicken salad and we leave.
Chicken salad, then we leave.